Hey everyone, this is Mr. McTome coming at you with a English video today to start off your week in English. It should be a pretty simple week of English, and probably don't really need a video for me today. This was last week was working with adverbs. I thought it was good to point out some because those can be a little tricky. This is kind of continuing with adverbs, but working with using negatives and basically speaking the correct way when we write or talk. Okay. Again, like I said, probably don't really need me to walk you through this video. I just want to make it for those of you that don't see me except for English. I got a couple of nice emails from some of you that were thankful that I made the video. And so I appreciate you saying so. And it does take me time to do all these things. So I'm glad people are watching them and at least getting to see me for a little bit. I know I can't see you guys, which is a bummer. But hopefully this makes it feel a little bit normal, even though this not very much is normal these days. But anyway, lesson today is covering grammar for called negatives, using negatives, meaning opposites or nots and things like that. I'm just going to real quick go through this and just give you a few little pointers, and basically you'll see how easy this is just to identify what's the appropriate way to speak or write when we use negatives, okay? So negatives, we're going to talk about that. So it says words that mean no or not are negatives, meaning not positive, right? Mean no, yes, no. So we've got those. So we have examples like she has no more tickets. There are none left. These are examples of negatives. No, none, not. We can also use these in contraction. So it says you've learned to form a contraction from a verb and not. These contractions are also negatives. The letters N apostrophe T stand for not. So like won't or for like will not. We could do could not becomes couldn't, should not becomes shouldn't. Again, just pointing out that even those contractions include the negative part, okay? Here we have a list of some common negatives: not, nowhere, nobody, aren't, haven't, all the rest here. So there's some common ones. Basically, it means, again, negative, not an affirmative. This is the big one. I'm going to put a star by this. It's this part here. And this is, again, usually when we speak or we hear someone speak incorrectly, it stands out pretty easily. So that's why I think this lesson is not going to be too hard to find the right answers here. But it says a sentence should only have one negative. Using double negatives in a sentence is usually incorrect. Double negatives are a big no-no. We might think of a certain type of person who might speak in double negatives, usually like you might think of a hillbilly or something like that. Some, certain accent you might think of. And I got something a little later on for that. But this is a good one where it says, isn't nobody at home? You might think of like some person that isn't very well educated might talk like that. And sometimes we do talk like that, right? But that's not the right way to speak. We would want to say, isn't anybody home? Or we could say, is nobody home? Again, both of these include just one negative. Usually just want one in a sentence. Whenever we see things like this, like Ralph hasn't no homework, isn't nobody home? Those are called double negatives. Got two, double, two, right? Double negatives. Isn't and then nobody, those are both negatives, and we only want one in a sentence. And again, when we speak, we usually know the correct way to speak and say things and read things in sentences, okay? So all we got to do today is, again, super easy lesson. I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but just look through our first examples. It says which word in parentheses correctly completes each sentence. Didn't you ever or never see a three-ring circus? So in this case, we've already got one negative here, didn't. So that means we don't want another negative. We don't want to say, didn't you never see a three-ring circus? We would want to say, didn't you ever? Okay, so number one, our correct word should be ever. Okay, number two is kind of similar. Okay, it says, isn't anybody or isn't nobody watching the High Wire Act? Again, isn't is a negative already. Okay, we are having is not. So we don't want another negative. We don't want to say, isn't nobody. Again, that's not the appropriate way to speak. We want to say, isn't anybody. Okay. Another one here, there isn't. Here we see another negative. There isn't anything or nothing underneath the wire. So again, we want to avoid another negative. There's already one negative in here. So we want to say there isn't anything underneath the wire. We wouldn't say there isn't nothing underneath the wire. Again, that's not the right way to speak. Okay. The last one, our friends at home had or hadn't none of the fun. If you look in this sentence, we have the words that are already for sure going to be in there. None is a negative. So once again, we want to avoid a double negative. So we need to just have we don't want hadn't. That's not going to be the one we want. We want had. So our friends at home had none of the fun. Okay. So there's a few first examples. You've got up to number 18 for today, and then there's an online form to complete. You'll see the screenshots and just pick the answer. So there we've done the first 4 together. Okay, just to preview the last parts, you'll go to same thing, just kind of picking the correct word. Big advice is don't be these guys, right? Again, this is what we might think of when we hear people speak the wrong way. Billy, Jimmy, Bobby, you never do nothing right. There's a lot of negatives in there. We don't want that. We don't want to be like these guys. We have a whole bunch of negatives going in here. We only want one in a sentence. We don't want to speak like this. And then, dadgummit, Bobby Joe Sam, don't you never say nothing like that to me, not never again. Way too many negatives in that sentence. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of being silly to make it a little fun. Again, not too hard to pick out that this is not the way we want to speak. Okay, don't be like Bobby Joe Sam and Billy Jim Bobby. Make sure you only have one negative as you go through these. Okay, you'll also at the end go through and find the double negatives in here and write these correctly. Again, when you get to the form to turn that in online, I'll try to make it pretty easy to understand how to complete that part just doing multiple choice. Okay, this is my only video for this week. Later this week, you've got a couple more writing tasks from Miss Cullen to try to keep staying connected with the hatchet work you're doing, and hopefully that's all been going well. I have enjoyed reading your submissions, and we're again getting a little creative. There's actually another thing for writing that might kind of lead me forward into beyond this week with our last few weeks of school. I know we are coming up to the end. It's a bummer we don't get to be together in class. I would much rather be teaching you guys in class than be in the, watching and making these videos for you. But again, hopefully these are helpful. The second writing part for Thursday is just all I need is some people to help me make a few lists of some things you might think would be fun to write about, fun to share, fun to talk about. It can be just things that, you know, you'd want to know how people are doing, and I can kind of make topics like that. And then I'll find out a way that we can share what each other are writing. That way we're practicing some writing and trying to stay connected as well. Again, those are kind of all our challenges during this time. Okay. I think you'll do great on this negative stuff. Again, this starts on page 254. We covered that together. So go ahead and finish up 255. Follow the link that should be in your email and turn those things into me. Shouldn't take you too long to do that. Then you just got one workbook page or a couple of workbook pages for tomorrow, and then some writing things. Trying to make it pretty easy here in English as we come toward the end. Okay. Appreciate you guys working. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the video. If it's helpful, again, this is a pretty easy topic, but at least you got to see me. So hi, everyone. Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of the week, and you'll be hearing from me again soon. Thanks, everybody.